When someone ignores you, especially someone you care deeply about, it can feel like a personal rejection that stings in ways only the heart can understand. You might start to question what went wrong, what you might have done to push them away, or what aspect of you they found unworthy. But this act of being overlooked or undervalued can sometimes serve as an essential turning point, a kind of cosmic redirection guiding you toward a different path, and ultimately toward people and experiences that will better nurture your potential and happiness. Rejection hurts, there's no denying that. But if you can shift your perspective on it, you may find that it is actually a blessing in disguise, a sign that there are other relationships, places, and goals that are far more aligned with your true self. Think of it this way: every time you're ignored or rejected, there's an opening created. That opening can feel uncomfortable at first. It's like a space where something you thought belonged has suddenly been removed. But within this space lies an opportunity to realign with the things that are truly meant for you. Consider moments in your life where things didn't go as planned, yet eventually they led you to something better. Maybe you didn't get that job you really wanted, but the disappointment motivated you to find an even more rewarding role. Perhaps a friendship faded, but you ended up meeting someone who became a more uplifting and supportive presence. Often, it's in these gaps created by rejection that the universe, or perhaps even your own intuition, starts to guide you toward new connections and possibilities that are more in tune with who you are and who you're becoming. When you're ignored, instead of seeing it as a reflection of your worth, try to see it as a gentle nudge, a sign to redirect your energy elsewhere. That redirection can help you cultivate relationships with people who truly value your presence and are invested in your growth. In fact, many people who end up feeling alone or hurt in relationships find themselves realizing sometimes much later that the people who ignored or undervalued them weren't capable of offering the genuine connection and respect they truly needed. And so rather than waste time trying to gain acceptance from someone who can't see your worth, redirecting yourself to other areas of life can lead you to people who see you for who you truly are. Rejection then can be thought of as a mirror reflecting back what you might need to adjust, either in your relationship choices or in your self-approach. Instead of trying to change for someone who has chosen not to engage with you, use this time to reconnect with yourself. Focus on what makes you unique, your dreams, your values, and the qualities that make you a good friend, partner, or collaborator. By stepping away from situations that don't offer the reciprocation you deserve, you give yourself room to thrive and grow on your own terms. This period of redirection can offer profound clarity, helping you to see what you need from others and what you're willing to give, all while reinforcing a strong sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on anyone else's acknowledgement. Additionally, when someone chooses to ignore you, it might actually free you from situations that would have drained your energy or hindered your growth. There are times when we get so caught up in seeking approval from others that we unknowingly place ourselves in relationships or environments that don't align with our purpose or values. But when those relationships fade or when people don't reciprocate the way we'd hoped, we're given the chance to reconsider how we invest our emotional energy. Suddenly, you have a choice. You can spend time and energy wondering why they've distanced themselves, or you can redirect that energy towards self-care, new pursuits, or finding others who truly appreciate and respect you. This journey of redirection is an essential step in building a life that feels fulfilling and authentic. When you begin to embrace the idea that being ignored is sometimes a sign meant to guide you to something better, you free yourself from the chains of others' validation. You begin to live a life that is no longer dependent on whether someone chooses to engage with you or not. This is empowering because it grants you the freedom to walk away, to redefine your relationships, and to focus on what truly matters to you. In the end, you'll likely look back on these experiences of rejection and realize that they were pivotal moments, leading you closer to the relationships, goals, and dreams that are meant for you. The pain of being ignored will eventually fade, replaced by the strength and joy that comes from aligning with people and opportunities that genuinely celebrate who you are. When people ignore you, it can be easy to jump to conclusions and start thinking there's something wrong with you, that you've somehow done something to deserve it. This kind of thinking can be especially damaging as it often leads us into cycles of self-doubt and insecurity. Instead of seeing being ignored as a problem with yourself, Consider it as a potential sign that the situation or the person simply wasn't aligned with your true worth or values. Rejection and being ignored are not reflections of your value, rather, they're often a reflection of the other person's limitations, insecurities, or lack of appreciation. This shift in thinking can be powerful. When you begin to see that they're ignoring you says more about them than it does about you, you reclaim your power and start to view these situations from a much healthier perspective. Let's take a moment to really think about what it means when someone ignores you. Ignoring often happens because the person on the other end may feel uncomfortable with the level of honesty, vulnerability, or commitment that you bring to the table. Sometimes people ignore others because they are intimidated or insecure about their own lives and decisions. They may not be ready or willing to confront certain things about themselves, and thus they choose to shut others out rather than confront their own limitations. By stepping back and understanding this perspective, you allow yourself to see that their ignoring behavior is about their own internal struggles, not about your value or worth. This perspective shift can help ease the emotional toll of being ignored, helping you to approach it as an opportunity to grow in understanding rather than a moment of self-doubt. By recognizing that their behavior isn't a reflection of your worth, you create space to reevaluate who and what deserves your attention. In many cases, we spend too much time and energy trying to win over people who, for whatever reason, are not prepared or interested in reciprocating. But when we start to see that their ignoring behavior is a symptom of their own struggles or lack of readiness, we can let go of the urge to chase after their validation. Instead, we can use that energy to focus on the relationships and areas of our lives that bring genuine fulfillment. You're worthy of connections where your value is recognized, where people want to invest in the relationship, and where they appreciate you for who you are. Ignoring isn't a rejection of you as a person. It's often a signal that the relationship dynamic isn't in alignment. And that's perfectly okay. It's also helpful to realize that sometimes people ignore you because they're not ready to engage on the same level. Relationships, whether friendships, family connections, or romantic partnerships, all require a certain level of emotional maturity and openness. Some people simply aren't there yet. They haven't done the inner work to handle the depth or honesty that you bring. When you're consistently authentic, vulnerable, or direct, it may bring things to the surface that the other person isn't ready to address. By recognizing this, you start to appreciate that their ignoring behavior is often about them avoiding discomfort or a level of connection they aren't prepared for. This doesn't make them a bad person, nor does it mean you need to take it personally. It simply highlights that for the moment, the two of you are on different paths in terms of emotional readiness. Understanding this allows you to approach such situations with empathy while also protecting your own peace. Instead of feeling the need to chase them down, you can respect their current limitations, step back, and allow things to unfold naturally. If they're not able to meet you where you are, that's their journey, not a judgment on your character. As you embrace this perspective, you might find a newfound sense of empowerment in letting go of people who cannot reciprocate, knowing that this makes room for others who genuinely resonate with your values and efforts. Rejection, especially when it comes in the form of silence or being ignored, often guides us away from people who aren't right for us and toward those who will appreciate and respect us on a deeper level. Embracing this mindset helps to cultivate resilience and self-respect. It allows you to choose where you invest your energy, keeping your focus on connections that bring mutual growth and respect. Instead of allowing silence or being ignored to hurt your self-esteem, use it as a moment of clarity, an opportunity to assess who truly values you and who might not be worth the energy. When someone's ignoring you, it often indicates they're not ready to handle the relationship in the way it deserves, and that's a clear message to redirect your energy elsewhere. This shift in perspective will free you from needing validation from those who can't give it, empowering you to focus on your own growth and to attract people who truly align with your values and respect. When you're ignored, it can be a moment of profound disappointment and even sadness. But rather than let that feeling take control, this experience can actually lead you to deeper self-discovery and awareness. Moments of silence or absence from others can offer a unique opportunity for reflection, enabling you to learn more about your true self, your values, and what you want out of life and relationships. In many cases, being ignored can be a wake-up call, a chance to think about the relationships and situations you invest in and whether they're truly aligned with who you are and what you deserve. Taking a step back to reflect after being ignored isn't about pointing fingers or assigning blame. It's about exploring your own needs and understanding your personal boundaries. Sometimes we enter relationships or situations with high hopes, but we fail to recognize whether those connections truly support us. When someone ignores you, it forces you to look inward and examine why the situation affects you so deeply. Are there patterns from past relationships or experiences that are influencing your feelings now? Are you perhaps placing too much of your self-worth in others' approval? This moment of reflection can offer valuable insights into these questions, enabling you to become more grounded and self-assured in your future choices. During this period of self-reflection, you might also discover the importance of cultivating self-love and self-compassion. Often, we're conditioned to seek validation from others, using external approval as a measure of our self-worth. But when we're ignored, this external validation is suddenly removed, challenging us to find a source of worth within ourselves. In these moments, it becomes evident just how essential it is to develop a strong foundation of self-acceptance. Learning to value yourself independently of others' opinions or attention is a powerful tool for personal growth, and it helps to build a resilient self-esteem that isn't easily shaken. This isn't an easy process, and it may take time, but in the end, you're left with a sense of self-worth that's unbreakable, one that doesn't rely on others for fulfillment. As you engage in this journey of self-discovery, you begin to realize that not every relationship is meant to last or fulfill you in the way you might have hoped. People enter our lives for various reasons. Some are here to support, some to challenge, others to teach us valuable lessons. Sometimes, when someone ignores you, it's simply an indication that their role in your life is changing or coming to an end. It's a gentle nudge from life suggesting that perhaps you've outgrown this connection, or it's time to seek new, more fulfilling experiences and relationships. Realizing this can be liberating as it frees you from holding on to relationships that no longer serve your highest good, opening the door for new, more aligned connections to enter. This process of reflection and growth also reveals how essential it is to set boundaries. By reflecting on why the experience of being ignored hurt so much, you may identify areas where you've overextended yourself, put others' needs ahead of your own, or allowed people to occupy space in your life without reciprocating respect or kindness. Setting boundaries isn't about closing yourself off, rather, it's about ensuring that your energy and time are invested wisely in relationships and activities that nourish and respect you. Learning to establish healthy boundaries helps you protect your well-being and allows you to approach relationships from a place of mutual respect and understanding. This way, you're not giving your energy away to those who can't or won't reciprocate. In the end, self-reflection after being ignored helps you become more in tune with yourself, allowing you to grow into someone who values their own company and independence. It teaches you that while connections are valuable, they should never come at the expense of your own peace of mind or happiness. By becoming aware of your needs and honoring your boundaries, you're setting yourself up for deeper, more meaningful connections in the future. You're learning to approach relationships from a place of strength, rather than neediness, which is ultimately more fulfilling. Through this self-discovery, you're building a life where you're comfortable and content on your own, able to enjoy solitude without feeling lonely or seeking external validation. You realize that your happiness and peace are in your hands, not dependent on the attention or approval of others. This empowers you to live authentically, forming connections that are based on genuine alignment rather than a need for validation. When you take the time to reflect after being ignored, you're ultimately creating a life that feels whole and fulfilling, regardless of who comes in or out of it. When someone ignores you, it might feel deeply unsettling, especially if you were once close to that person. However, experiencing this behavior can be an invitation to observe their actions rather than their words. This shift in focus is valuable because actions often reveal much more about a person's intentions, values, and commitment than what they might say. While it can be tempting to listen to sweet words, apologies, or excuses, their behavior in moments of difficulty shows you where their priorities truly lie. In this way, being ignored becomes a mirror that reflects the reality of the relationship, allowing you to see it with a clarity that words alone would not provide. One of the most critical aspects of observing someone's actions is that it enables you to separate your emotions from objective reality. It's natural to feel disappointed or hurt, but emotions can sometimes blur our understanding of the situation. When you take a step back and assess their actions dispassionately, you gain insight that is both honest and unfiltered. Are they showing up consistently? Do they prioritize spending time with you or supporting you in challenging times? If someone's actions are consistently at odds with their words, this behavior becomes a red flag, suggesting they may not value the relationship as much as you thought. Ignoring you, especially without explanation, speaks volumes about their willingness to invest in the relationship. It's a subtle yet powerful way for them to convey a lack of commitment or interest, and while it may be painful to acknowledge, recognizing this truth can save you from investing in a relationship that doesn't serve your highest good. This period of observation is a time to cultivate patience and avoid rushing to conclusions. Sometimes it's easy to justify someone's actions with reasons that make us feel better, but ignoring someone repeatedly is rarely a sign of healthy communication or respect. By staying silent and observing, you allow yourself to see the patterns that might otherwise be obscured by your hopes or wishes for the relationship. Patterns of behavior reveal a person's character more reliably than one-time occurrences. Are they repeatedly ignoring your messages or failing to follow through on promises? Are they engaged in the relationship only when it's convenient for them? These patterns provide a valuable guide, helping you understand what to expect from them moving forward. When you observe in silence, it also allows you to reclaim a sense of control. Often we feel powerless when ignored because we're unsure of what to do or say. But by focusing on their actions, you take your attention off the need for their validation or explanation, redirecting it toward a deeper understanding of the relationship. Instead of anxiously waiting for a response, you're watching, learning, and drawing conclusions based on reality. This approach can be empowering as it reminds you that you're not reliant on their behavior for your sense of worth or peace. You become a witness to their actions rather than a passive recipient, which strengthens your ability to make informed, thoughtful decisions. This process of observation can also lead you to a profound realization about the role of reciprocity in relationships. True relationships are built on mutual respect, care, and consistency. When you see someone continuously acting in a way that disregards your feelings or disrespects your time, it's a clear indicator that reciprocity might be lacking. If they're not willing to invest the same effort or consideration that you're providing, the imbalance will eventually strain the connection. This recognition helps you set healthier boundaries, encouraging you to invest your time and energy in relationships that offer mutual respect and reciprocity. As you grow through this experience, you may also notice that silence becomes a powerful tool for self-protection. Rather than confronting or pleading with someone who repeatedly ignores you, choosing silence allows you to preserve your dignity and protect your peace. Silence speaks louder than words in such situations, signaling that you're not willing to beg for attention or chase after someone who doesn't value you. By choosing to remain silent, you communicate that your self-worth isn't dependent on their validation. It's a way of setting a boundary without saying a word, of asserting your value without demanding acknowledgement. In this way, silence becomes a form of self-respect, showing both them and yourself that you're worthy of attention, care, and respect. In the end, observing others' actions without interference gives you the perspective to decide how much of your energy you're willing to invest in them. It enables you to make informed choices about who you want in your life, grounded in reality rather than wishful thinking. The act of silently observing allows you to protect your heart, preserve your peace, and focus your energy on relationships that are truly reciprocal and fulfilling. Instead of feeling powerless, you find yourself more self-assured, more aware, and ultimately more equipped to navigate relationships with clarity and wisdom. When you're faced with being ignored, the immediate response might be to try harder to connect, communicate, and make sense of the silence. However, it's important to understand that sometimes the best response is to shift that energy inward rather than trying to bridge a gap that may not be your responsibility to fill. One powerful approach to handling these situations is by using this time to focus on yourself and rediscover the things that make you feel whole and fulfilled on your own. Instead of seeking validation or answers from someone who's choosing to stay distant, you can turn this experience into an opportunity to reconnect with who you are and what you value, independent of external approval. Self-focus during these periods of silence isn't about withdrawing or isolating yourself from others, but rather about recentering on what truly matters to you. It's about reestablishing the routines, hobbies, and passions that light up your life. For example, if you have hobbies that you enjoy, whether that's reading, painting, working out, or exploring new ideas, spending time on these interests can ground you and remind you of your own value. These activities bring a renewed sense of joy and satisfaction, filling your days with purpose beyond someone else's recognition or attention. By pouring energy into these pursuits, you begin to realize that your happiness isn't contingent on any one relationship or individual's presence in your life. Engaging in self-discovery also means taking the time to understand your own emotional triggers, desires, and aspirations. When you're not constantly reacting to someone else's behavior, you're better able to reflect on what you truly want from your relationships, career, and life path. Sometimes the feeling of being ignored can bring up insecurities or fears which are worth examining. Instead of dwelling on why someone isn't communicating, you can ask yourself questions like, what do I need to feel secure and fulfilled in a relationship? What are my non-negotiables? What are the things I won't compromise on when it comes to respect and attention? By understanding your own needs more deeply, you prepare yourself to recognize when they're being met or ignored in any relationship. This period of self-focus also offers the opportunity to build resilience. When someone ignores you, it's easy to feel hurt, disappointed, or even anxious. But by redirecting your focus inward and investing time in self-growth, you're building a stronger sense of self that isn't as easily shaken by external circumstances. This resilience becomes a vital asset, one that helps you navigate future relationships with confidence and clarity. You start to develop an inner strength that isn't dependent on someone else's presence or attention. Over time, you find that you're less affected by temporary shifts in others' behavior because you're secure in your own identity, values, and worth. Additionally, shifting your focus inward allows you to evaluate the relationships in your life from a place of clarity and independence. It's common to feel emotionally tangled in relationships where there's inconsistency or ambiguity. But by taking a step back and concentrating on yourself, you gain the distance needed to see the relationship more objectively. You can ask yourself whether this person's actions align with the respect, trust, and support you want from a relationship. Are they adding value to your life, or are they taking away from your peace of mind? When you're focused on your own well-being, it becomes easier to set boundaries and make decisions that honor your emotional health. The act of focusing on yourself when someone ignores you can lead to an empowerment that fundamentally changes your perspective on relationships. You become less likely to rely on external validation to feel whole, and instead you cultivate a strong internal foundation. This shift doesn't mean that you stop caring about others or isolate yourself. Rather, it means you're approaching relationships from a place of strength rather than need. You're able to see that your worth isn't defined by any one person's actions or approval. In this way, focusing on yourself becomes a practice in self-love and self-respect, reinforcing that you deserve attention and consideration from others, but are also complete on your own. Ultimately, when you choose to turn inward and focus on yourself, you're embracing a mindset that values your well-being and growth over any temporary discomfort. It's a reminder that no matter how someone else behaves, you have control over how you respond and where you invest your energy. Instead of feeling diminished by someone's silence, you're able to transform it into a powerful experience of self-rediscovery and growth. Through this journey, you may find that the person who truly deserves your attention and commitment is the one looking back at you in the mirror. When you find yourself ignored by someone you care about, it can feel disheartening, even painful. But as difficult as it may be, there's profound strength and wisdom in learning to let go and move forward independently. When you choose to let go, you are ultimately choosing peace and self-respect over chasing validation. This doesn't mean that you're giving up on relationships or that you're choosing loneliness over connection. Rather, it's about recognizing when someone's absence speaks louder than their words and accepting that not everyone is meant to stay in our lives. Letting go can be a transformative experience, one that brings clarity, self-empowerment, and opens doors to new opportunities and healthier connections. Letting go begins with accepting that not everything or everyone is within your control. Relationships can be complex, with each person carrying their own motivations, emotions, and desires. If someone has chosen to ignore you or distance themselves, it's often a reflection of their own circumstances or issues, not a measure of your worth or desirability. Understanding this is the first step in releasing the burden of feeling responsible for their actions. You didn't make them act this way, and it's not your job to change them. Accepting this fact allows you to release the internal struggle, and by letting go, you're choosing to protect your peace and mental well-being. When you decide to move forward, you're also freeing up mental and emotional space to focus on yourself. Instead of being preoccupied with someone else's behavior, you can channel that energy into self-growth and self-discovery. Letting go allows you to pour your efforts into personal goals, career ambitions, and hobbies that bring you joy. You might start pursuing a new skill, explore creative passions, or improve your physical and mental health. This investment in yourself brings rewards that are far more lasting and fulfilling than the fleeting attention of someone who isn't prioritizing you. By putting yourself first, you're acknowledging your own value and setting a standard for how you deserve to be treated. As the process of letting go also teaches resilience. It's not easy to walk away from someone you care about, and it can feel like an emotional test. But as you go through it, you build emotional strength, learning that you can endure and thrive even in the face of disappointment. Over time, you become more resilient, able to handle challenges in relationships with a balanced mindset. You begin to understand that you are not defined by one relationship or one person's treatment of you. This resilience is invaluable, as it builds confidence and a sense of inner security that carries over into all areas of your life. Moreover, letting go cultivates self-respect. When you release someone who isn't giving you the consideration or presence you deserve, you're making a powerful statement to yourself that you won't settle for half-hearted relationships. You deserve connections that uplift and inspire you, not those that drain or diminish you. By choosing to let go, you're telling yourself and others that you value yourself enough to walk away from situations that don't align with your worth. Self-respect radiates outward, attracting people who value you as much as you value yourself. It also sets a positive example, showing others that you're someone who knows their boundaries and isn't afraid to honor them. Letting go of someone who ignores you can ultimately open doors to deeper, more fulfilling relationships. When you're no longer tied to someone who isn't showing up for you, you're free to connect with those who genuinely care and value you. It's a chance to meet people who align with your values, who respect your time and emotions, and who actively contribute to your life. Sometimes we cling to certain people or relationships out of fear of the unknown, but by letting go, you create space for new connections that are healthier and more reciprocal. In doing so, you may discover the profound joy of relationships built on mutual respect, trust, and empathy. Finally, letting go is an act of self-love. It's a decision to put your own well-being above the need for external validation. When you let go, you're saying, "I am enough." You're recognizing that your happiness isn't contingent on someone else's presence in your life. Instead, it comes from within. This shift in perspective fosters a sense of inner peace, freeing you from the constant need to seek approval or validation from others. By letting go, you empower yourself to find happiness on your own terms, creating a life that is enriched by your own sense of purpose and fulfillment. In choosing to let go, you ultimately allow yourself to move forward with a lighter heart and a clearer mind. The act of letting go is difficult but rewarding, enabling you to break free from patterns that no longer serve you and step into a future full of possibilities. You gain a sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on anyone else, and in that you discover the true freedom of living life on your own terms.